Hello guys, in my last video I shared with you some of the struggles that I have seen international students go through since I've been in Canada. And this was mainly from my perspective, things that I've actually seen people go through that I felt that you will also be able to learn from. And since this channel, my main aim is to help people who want to move here and people who are already here be able to at least educate themselves, get knowledge, and be able to at least set themselves up for success. I felt it would be important to tell you some of the cultural shocks that I have experienced since I've been here, and also the ones that I've seen other people experience since they came into Canada, so that at least you can also learn from those ones and prepare yourself before you get here. My main aim for sharing some of these things with you is not to scare you. I believe that information is power, and with the right information you can prepare yourself so that you will not be surprised. Because what always happens is most people travel out without the necessary preparation, and when they encounter some of these challenges, they are exposed because they find out that they were not actually prepared, which can end up killing their dreams. So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you some of the cultural shocks I have experienced in Canada and the ones that I've seen people experience, so that you can pick some learnings out of it. And when I say cultural shocks, I'm talking about some of the things that you won't know unless you actually land here in Canada. Things that you cannot actually read in books. And to be frank with you, before coming to Canada, I have been able to travel to over 21 countries. So I felt that I was more than prepared for even Canada. But I got here and I was shocked by some of the things that I had to experience, because I realized that I was not prepared for some of those things. And the truth is, some of these things you cannot actually read from books, because even if you read them from books, the experience reading them is different from actually experiencing them. The course that I'm doing in Canada, luckily for me, when I came in, they took us through a full 12-week program where we did something called cultural dimensions. And the main aim of this was to let us know how the cultures that we are coming from is different from Canada, so that we can prepare ourselves to be able to be successful in Canada. Most of us in that program are people who have been working professionals for over a decade. So most of us were set in our ways, and they felt that we would benefit from that one. So we had a full 12 weeks where we went through how each of us, our cultures are different, how we think are different, and the things and how we approach things are different, and how even where we are coming from is different from Canada. In my class, there are 36 of us from 17 different nationalities. So you can just imagine the cultural mix. Nowadays, because of globalization, we have a lot of people moving out of their home countries to either study abroad or pick up one course or the other abroad. And most people are also heading up to Canada because they feel that with education comes immigration, that they can easily immigrate. And others also feel that if they're able to move to Canada, they might be able to get some benefits that they are not getting from their home country. And there's another group of people who are also moving to Canada. And these are mainly people who I would say have gone through the professional world, and they feel that now what they are looking for is a quality of life. So some of these people too are also moving to Canada to be able to settle there. Then there's a separate group that's coming in through PR. The funny thing is, those who are even coming through PR, most of them end up going to school. So some of these shocks that I'll be sharing will cut across all these groups. Currently, there are over 650,000 students studying in Canada, and most of these people are first-time travelers. So they haven't actually even had the experience of a Western world. And if you talk to people who have been to Canada and been to other countries, they will tell you that Canada is really different from most of these countries that they've been to. So they come here and they realize that even though Canada is closer to America, some of the things that they experience in Canada are far different from what they experience in America. Even though Canadians are very hospitable and accommodating to immigrants, you realize that most people coming here are coming from diverse backgrounds, and most times it takes them a lot of months before they get acclimatized to the Canadian culture. And most of these people, before they even get through this phase, they would have either lost money, or they would have either lost friends, or some of them would have even ended up being depressed, because they never felt that they were going to go through this, either because they were not prepared for it or they were not aware of these things. And if you talk to international students or even permanent residents who have moved here, almost everybody has untold stories of cultural shocks that they've gone through one way or the other. So before I give you mine, what I would say is, if you're already in Canada and you went through some cultural shocks, feel free to share it in the comment section so that other people too can also take lessons from it. If you are thinking of moving to Canada, you can also share some of the things that you've read about Canada that to you feel it might shock you, so other people too can also pick some few points from it and prepare for it. The first one that I'll stress on, and I spoke about this one in my last video when I spoke about the struggles that most international students go through, and that would be the Canadian way of learning. Since I'm a student and I came through the student route, and I believe most of the people who are on this channel are also thinking of coming here through the student route, I felt it is important to stress on this one again. One of the cultural shocks that most people end up going through. And to be frank with you, even myself, I was shocked. Even though I've spent most of my time studying in one way or the other, I was shocked. You get here and you find out that unlike most places, most of the time here, the people who are teaching you are mainly facilitating the class. They are not there just to spoon feed you the information for you to spew it out for them. Here, project works are stressed on, teamwork is stressed on, individual work will be stressed on. In my class, like I said earlier, there are 36 people from 17 different countries. In the first semester, that's the first 3 months of my time in Canada, I was forced to work with every single one of them because they felt you will learn from each and every one of them. So almost every course that we did, there will be a project that you're supposed to work with people from different countries on. In that same course, there will be individual assignments that you will need to work on. And sometimes you might need to talk to some of these people. And there were times when we had to even write reports about each other's cultures because you were forced to go and learn about these people. And in the same vein, going through all this, you are stressed on that academic integrity is important. So you are not supposed to plagiarize. The moment you quote somebody's work, you have to reference it. If you don't, it's plagiarism. And that will just buy you a session with the academic integrity committee where you need to go and defend why you quoted somebody's work but did not reference it. So the Canadian way of learning is something that can sometimes be a cultural shock to most people who are coming here, because either they haven't experienced a similar one, or they get here and they realize that you are forced to now study with people from diverse cultures. So if your people management skills is not good, it will be tested. If your communication skills is not good, that will be tested, because even though you are all speaking English, for most of you here, English will be the second language. So you have to make sure that you have good listening skills, you have good communication skills, else you will be found wanting. The second cultural shock that I see most people go through is the fact that in Canada, there is no discrimination. Canada does not support any form of discrimination because they believe in equal rights for each and every one. So if you are an immigrant moving here and you believe in discrimination of any form, then I would say Canada is not the place for you. So if you are somebody who is all for discrimination, then I would say that just forget about your dreams, because you will not survive here. Because one thing that they frown upon is you discriminating against somebody of any form, be it their religion, age, sex, gender, cultural background. No matter what, you are not supposed to discriminate in any form. If you are found discriminating against anyone, you will find yourself in big trouble, whether it's your office, your school, or even any social environment. Discrimination is actually something that's frowned upon, and it's against their laws. So if somebody can actually raise a case against you because you discriminated against the person, you can actually be prosecuted for it. So no matter the person's background, you are not allowed to discriminate. Most people move here and they get a shock of their life because where they are coming from, either one gender or the other is superior to the others. So they get preferential treatment, or they believe that where they are coming from, because of their educational background, they get some special benefits or some special treatment. They get here and they find out that everybody is being treated equally. And that becomes a shock for them, because where they are coming from, either they were treated differently or they were expected to get different treatment when they go to some places. But they get there and they find out that everyone is actually equal. So don't be surprised that you get to your class and you find out that it's actually a diverse group of people from diverse background. Even the people from the same country, there's so much diversity, because Canada is actually a country of immigrants from different backgrounds with diverse interests. So in Canada, discrimination is not allowed. So before getting to Canada, if you have any form of discrimination that you are bringing along, my advice is you drop it off before you board the plane, else you get here and you will have the shock of your life. And if you end up discriminating against someone, you might be on the next flight back home. Number 3 is Canada is a country that is friendly to LGBTI. In Canada, homosexuality and LGBTIQ is widely accepted, and they are friendly to international students. So as a result, they attract a lot of people of different sexual orientation who are coming here. So my advice is, if you are coming here and you are somebody who is against LGBTIQ, then this place might not be good for you, because Canada is very welcoming to people of diverse genders and cultures. Actually, it is one of the places where people of LGBTIQ decide to take up education, because they want to take advantage of Canada's all-inclusive gender environment. And this is not to mention that in the 1990s, where most countries were discussing whether to even legalize same-sex marriages and same-sex form of relationships, Canada actually took the first step to be the one to enact laws that prohibit discrimination against people of the LGBTQ community. So my advice is, no matter your religion, no matter your cultural preference, no matter who you are, if your culture or your religion is even against LGBTQ, then you need to psych yourself up and prepare. Because if you get here, trust me, most of the people that you are going to interact with or spend time with might end up coming from this community. And if you choose to discriminate against some of these people, you might get yourself into trouble. So this might be one of the shocks to your system that you are going to encounter if you are somebody who is not friendly to the LGBTQ community. And I have seen a lot of newcomers struggle to accept this when they get here. People who come here, they try to, one way or the other, treat most of these people differently, because for them, they feel that where they are coming from, this is not allowed. My advice is, you chose to be here. Nobody forced you to be here. And when you roam, make sure you do what the Romans do. So if you get here, these are the laws. To avoid having a cultural shocks, my advice is to psych yourself up before you get here. And remember that Canada is LGBTQ friendly. The fourth one that you won't find out till you are actually here is the fact that Canada is ethnically rich country. Another cultural shock that most people, especially students who are traveling for the first time, don't find out that before it's too late when they get to Canada, is the fact that Canada is ethnically rich country. There are people from different countries, different cultural background, different religions, all living and working and studying in Canada. Most people find out that they are not the only person of different ethnicity living in that small town that they are living in. And most times, most of the places that you find yourself will either be a small town, because Canada is a very big country with a small population. So besides the cosmopolitan places that you might find yourself, most places will be either small communities. And you'll find out that there are different people from different backgrounds. I am living in Winnipeg now, and here there are so many Africans, there are so many Indians, there are Chinese, there are almost every group of people that you are looking for, you'll find them here. And the same way, you'll find the same people in your classes. One thing that this offers you is the opportunity to interact with different people from different cultures, to learn from each and every one of them. So my advice is, if you find yourself in a class that is ethnically rich, people from different cultures, don't try to stick only to your people from your background or people from your country that you are coming from. Try to open yourself up, make new friends with people from different cultures so you can learn from them. You'll be shocked at how much information these people can impact into you. And you'll be shocked to learn more about these people and their country. Things that maybe you read from books, that now you will have somebody who is actually living in those countries that you can learn from. You can pick some of the good characteristics that some of these people have and apply it to yourself. And one thing that they love is people who actually embrace variety of cultures, people who have good people management skills, people who can at least relate to people from different backgrounds. Because if you're able to relate to people from different backgrounds in your class, you will be able to relate to the same people in the working world. Because your boss might be somebody from a different ethnicity, your colleague might be somebody from a different ethnicity, and we all have different cultural dimensions, different ways that we communicate, different ways that we think. And it will be good to embrace all these things when you get here, to avoid having a shock of your life, because you are not going to live with just people of your own ethnicity. And if you decide to stick to only people from your own ethnicity, you will just be limiting yourself. My advice is just to broaden your horizon, broaden your scope, interact with people. If a friend of yours invites you to their social gathering, make it an effort to go. It might be a way for you to network, meet new people, learn from them, and at least build a new network, because that might be the connection for you to get that new job that you are looking for. That might be a connection for you to get that blessing that you've been praying for. So my advice is to be aware, be self-aware before you get here, and know that Canada is ethnically rich country. Another thing that you won't find out till you're actually here is that Canadians are actually very friendly. One thing that you won't find out till you actually arrive in Canada and start at least interacting with people is the fact that Canadians are actually very friendly. Even if somebody does not like you, trust me, the person will be polite to you. That person will smile to you. And most people who are coming from different cultures where they are not used to this end up having the shock of their life. Because guess what? Where they are coming from, if somebody does not like you, they will actually tell you, or they will actually find a way to let you know that I don't like you. But they get to Canada and they realize that almost everybody is smiling at them. Even people who don't like them are actually smiling at them. There was recently a story that a colleague of mine, actually a friend, was telling me. He used to work in a company where the person was very open and they were engaging and talking about everything and almost anything. And he felt that it was opportunity to open up about something. He opened up, told the person. The next thing, he realized that the person has gone to report him. And he was like, I thought you were my friend. We were laughing and doing all these things. But guess what? The fact that somebody is being polite to you does not mean as an invitation that you guys are friends. You can gist, you can do everything. It's because Canadians are actually polite. And they try their maximum best to be friendly and welcoming to everybody. It's one thing that you should be aware of before you have the shock of your life, because Canadians are generally friendly. And actually, according to the United Nations, outside Taiwan, Portugal, and Mexico, Canadians are actually the most friendly people. So they are in fact in the top 10 countries who are very friendly. And the fact that Canadians are actually friendly is also good for a lot of immigrants, because most Canadians would like to open their doors to you if you reach out to them. But guess what? If you don't reach out to them, they are not going to reach out to you. They are not going to assume that just because you are cold, it means you need a jacket. Or just because you are holding your stomach, it means you are hungry. If you need help, you have to just reach out to somebody. And most people will actually open their doors to you to help you. So when you get here and you need help, feel free to reach out to a colleague, a friend, if they smile to you. But that's also no opportunity for you to take advantage of them. Because I always say that if you burn one bridge, you are not only burning it for you, you might be burning it for other people. Because if you take advantage of that person might not open up to the next person who will reach out. And you will be just be causing a whole generation just because you made one mistake. So make sure you reach out wisely. The sixth cultural shock that I believe you have to be ready for is the climate shock. And this one, I was actually shocked myself. For somebody who had traveled to most countries in the winter, I remember when I was moving to Canada, almost everyone and anyone was warning me, Evans, be ready for the winter. When I got here, my first day at job, the first thing my colleague said was, Evans, are you ready for winter? And guess what? I told every single one of them. I even backpack across Europe in winter. I have been to the coldest part of Europe in winter, so I don't think Canada winter is going to hit me. And trust me, winter came and I wasn't ready. All those times that they were saying winter is coming, trust me, this was actual winter, not the one that I was used to. One thing you will note when you get to Canada is the fact that out of the 12 months in Canada, there's 8 months winter and actually 4 months of summer. So 8 months you might be in cold and 4 months you will see some amount of sunshine. So it's something that you have to be ready for, especially if you are coming from the tropics, places where we spend all seasons in the sun, so we are used to seeing the sun every day. There will be time where it will get as cold as -42. I am in Winnipeg, and in December, at some point I checked the thermometer and it was as cold as -42. There was a time I went out with some friends and needed somebody to take some pictures. I said I would sacrifice and take the pictures. I took my hands out of my gloves just to take pictures for 3 minutes. By the time I was done, my hands were actually frozen. I couldn't even take out my transport card and I was shocked. I actually had frostbites. So that's one thing that you have to be ready for. It might end up being a cultural shock for you if it's something that you are not used to. If you are coming in the winter, prepare for the cold. Make sure you've made arrangements for your winter boots, your jackets, means of transport, all those things are sorted out. If you are coming in the spring, there will be some amount of cold, so get ready for it. Even if you are coming in the summer, know that winter is coming, so I need to make the necessary preparations for those things. That's why sometimes we advise that when you are coming, it is important to make arrangements for your accommodation, because imagine landing during the peak of the cold and you haven't actually made arrangements for accommodation. How are you going to roam around just to find accommodation in the cold, especially if you are not used to it? I've heard and seen people cry in the cold because they are so cold and they were not prepared for it before they got here. Even myself, there were times where I'll be standing at the bus stop and I'm like, damn, this is cold. So one thing that you have to be ready for is the climate shock. If you've made the decision to move to Canada to study or even live here permanently. Number 7 is actually Canadians enjoy talking. And this is something that you will know till you get here. You realize that Canadians actually enjoy talking so much. You can meet somebody and within the first 20 minutes, the person can actually tell you their whole life history, because all they need is some small talks just to start the conversation. And before you say Jack, you know the person's whole life history. They've opened up and they told you everything and anything about themselves. Most people moving here from different cultures are not used to it, because where they are coming from, you don't tell a stranger everything about you. Even for opening up to people that they spend most time with, is difficult. So they get here and when they experience it, it just shocks their system. The fact that a whole stranger is just telling them everything about themselves. I was watching a video recently of a colleague, somebody who was also in Canada, and she was talking about the fact that at her workplace, a colleague was pregnant and was saying, oh, you can touch my stomach. It's something that where I come from, you dare not do. Touching a stranger's stomach because she's pregnant. That person can just knock you out just because you touch her stomach. But the good thing about that one is, as an immigrant, that offers you a way for you to at least connect with people and start building long-lasting relationships. If somebody brings up sports, weather, food, it doesn't matter what the person brings up as a form of conversation. It offers you a way at least to start engaging with that person. If the person is telling you something about themselves, it might give you the opportunity to also open up to that person and tell them something about you. And that might be a way for the two of you to connect. It might be the beginning of a new friendship, something that you can build on, something that you can benefit on in the near future. That person can be the person to maybe point you in the right direction of something that you are trying to do, that job that you are looking for. So when they open up to you, feel free and also open yourself up to them so they can be comfortable around you. Even immigrants who have moved here for a long time, at some point they get infected with that need to talk and they will start talking to you. So feel free and enjoy it, and don't be shocked when you experience it. Number 8 is the fact that money is not so important. you realize that Canadians don't see money as so much as important as we, those of us who are coming from Africa. For those of us coming from Africa, we see money as security, money as something that shows status. But you get here and you realize that most people don't actually see money as so much as an important. Money is just an idea. Money is just a means to an end. Everybody here is making money one way or the other. Even that plumber that we look down on back home might be making more money than you who is in the office. Here, money is so much not important. It's basically a credit system. So if you are credit worthy, you'll be able to access everything and anything that you want. You don't need to be walking around carrying so much cash. As long as you are credit worthy, you can at least get what you want. So here, they don't equate money to status, money to worth, as we do back home. Even though most of we Africans, we see money as something that's vital part of life, something that normally offers us safety. You arrive here and you find out that most Canadians don't have that viewpoint. They don't actually believe that they need so much money to be happy in life. And to be frank with you, since coming into Canada, I've spent most of my time working in a business where I'm signing people up to contracts of thousands of dollars every day. And I've seen all sorts of people working, people that you will assume that they don't qualify. But you'll be shocked when you run checks on these people, the amount of credits that they have. And even though I work with money every day, I have not actually seen, and I was telling somebody yesterday and he was laughing. It was yesterday that I actually held $100 Canadian note. But guess what? On a daily basis, I was transacting business of thousands of dollars. This is a credit system. So when you are coming here, get into that mindset where you can play that credit game to be able to get what you want. Unlike where we are coming from, where you pull out your wallet and there's so much cash and that shows that you are credit worthy. That's not same here. Number 9 is the fact that they live a balanced life. And for me, moving to Canada, this was one of the things that I was actually shocked to realize. You get here and you find out that when they say 8 hours of work, it's actually 8 hours of work. Nobody will reward you for doing extra hours if it's actually not needed. Where I was coming from, if it's 5 o'clock and you pick up your bag to go, you have your superiors and even colleagues giving you side eye. You are seen as somebody who is lazy. But guess what? Here, and I'll use myself as an example, even the work that I am doing, sometimes they have scheduled breaks that they will schedule break and say you are supposed to take some time off. You don't have to do so much work. They believe in a balanced life. I remember when we started studying and there was times where some of the lecturers would come in and say, I'm going to my cottage this weekend because I need to distress. I need to take some time off. And for most of us who are coming from third world countries, we were shocked. We were like, why are you taking some time off when you could have taken more teaching time or you could have spent more time in class teaching? And they will tell you that I need some time off work. And that's why sometimes during summer holidays, there's so much work available for immigrants to do, because most people are actually taking time off to go and blow off steam, taking time off to go and relax. It's not all about working and every day. They believe in a balanced life. Yeah, you work every day, but make time to also distress. Spend time with your family. So as a result, one thing I found out here is even after 8 p.m., most times nobody will even call you. Even before you call somebody, you have to make sure that the person is actually expecting your phone call. So almost everybody will be spending their time texting because you don't know where that person is. And a phone call might just mean that it's an emergency. So the person will just run to the phone just to see that you are just updating him or her on something. In Canada, they stress on a balanced life. They want you to have quality life. So even in school, sometimes they will schedule some classes online just so that you don't have to be going through so much stress just to get to class. I remember when the weather was very cold, when it got to beyond -32, some of our class were pushed online because they were like, why go through so much cold just to get to class, just to come and learn when it can be done online? And I remember in my class, some of us even fought against it. We were like, why should we do online? And we didn't know why it was even being pushed online. But when the cold hits its peak, people were actually thankful of the fact that the school was actually looking to take care of us. and they don't want us to suffer through the cold and get a wind chill and get frostbite and all that. So coming to Canada, you just have to learn to work smart, not work hard. There are times where if you are overworking yourself, they can tell you to take some time off. They can even deny you some hours because they don't want you to overwork yourself. They want you to take some time off just to relax. And beyond work, there are a lot of things that they will love you to do. You can take up a sport, you can try meditation. If you are somebody who likes nature, you can try to go hiking. But trust me, one way or the other, find something else to engage yourself beyond just working and going to school. Find something to connect with people on. Find time to talk to family members, because it's something that's stressed upon here. They want you to have a balanced life. And the truth is, here no one rewards you for working late. The funny thing is, sometimes you might even get fired just because you are working late, because the amount of work that is being given to you, they expect that the hours that you have, you should be able to finish that work. So if you are working late, two things might be happening. Either you are not focusing on the work during the time, or you are not competent enough for the work that you are doing. So nobody actually rewards you for working late. When it says 8 hours, it's just 8 hours. When it's time, you clock out and you are gone. Nobody is expecting you to stay late and do more hours. Sometimes even if you stay late, there will be complaints, because guess what? You are costing them extra money. They are forced to pay you for that extra hours that you are staying late. So remember, you are not going to be rewarded for working late. So work smart and try to have a balanced life as you come here. Number 10 is the fact that in Canada, they respect personal spaces. Another significant shock that most people coming here go through, and I even learned this during my cultural dimension class, where we are forced to learn about other cultures, that you realize that for most cultures, asking simple questions like, why are you single? Why do you have one children? Why don't you have a child? How much is your salary? All those things are just questions that we ask to break ice. But you get here and you realize that some of those questions can be seen as offensive. It's not just breaking ice. You are just probing into people's spaces, and they might not enjoy it, especially if they don't have a relationship with you. And I remember our first week of orientation, we were told, when you enter the Canadian work environment, these are questions that you are supposed to stay away from. Even though for most of us, it's questions that we were used to from where we are coming from. And here, they don't encourage phrases or body language that might be offensive to people from other cultures. So one thing that I keep telling people is, as you come here, try to be self-aware, because unless you study somebody's culture, Canada is people from different cultures. Something that in your culture might be seen as normal, in somebody's culture will be offensive. For me, cultural dimensions class was an eye-opener, because I was shocked to learn how much different that, even though we are all one as a human race, we are all different. Even simple words, there are some words that in my language are just normal. You realize that in other language is just an offensive word, because the tone that is coming out, if you mention that word in the room, to one group of people, they hear it differently. To another group of people, it's an offensive word, because that's how it's seen in their culture. And asking personal questions is the quickest way to get somebody to shun you. And most people will just tell you that it's just none of your business. And the truth is, it's none of your business. So as you are getting to Canada, try to be self-aware, be culturally aware, try to learn and be respectful of people's personal spaces. And don't try to invade into people's spaces if they haven't invited you in. Make sure you build relationships before you start probing with some of those questions. So although I said earlier that Canadians are friendly, they will smile to you, they are open, and they are very responsive when you go to them for help, the fact that somebody is being open with you is not an invitation to start asking for personal questions. So just be aware of that. These are some cultural shocks that I have seen new immigrants moving to Canada experience, and some of them I have experienced for myself, even though I'm well traveled, that I felt that you should also know of, so that you can prepare yourself as you are moving to Canada. And if there is time, I'll try and make a new video on how you can adapt to some of these cultural challenges, because trust me, knowledge is power. And for some of us, we were lucky where we got here and they actually taught us all those things. And it's something that everybody and anybody will go through when you move to a new country, but being aware of it will help you get through it faster. My advice for you to avoid some of these cultural shocks is to do at least some of these things as you are trying to embark on this journey. One is, before you travel or pick your passport to travel, try to familiarize yourself with some of the cultures and at least customs or traditions in those areas that you are going to. At least have a clear understanding of the kind of people who are majority in those areas, because guess what? Those are the first people that you are going to interact with when you land there. Secondly, I also advise that make it a point to interact with your faculty and students at the school that you are going to. And I keep stressing this: don't skip the orientation session, because guess what? There are students who have come before you with similar backgrounds like you, and to make sure that you're able to integrate faster, that's why some of those orientation sessions are put together. So make sure you don't skip them. Don't say that I don't need it. Make it a point to attend them. The information that will be given will be beneficial to you. Thirdly, make it a point to read the brochures that the schools always issue. For me, for example, before even moving to Canada, the school organized at least 3 different sessions, Zoom sessions, where we were supposed to get on, where they walked out through at least different stages of the school processes just to prepare us. We did the pre-departure, we did the arrival, and we did the post-arrival. All the things that they felt that we would go through just to prepare us to land softly. Because guess what? The first 3 months of your arrival in any country is very crucial, because it might cost you socially, financially, or physically. The more knowledge that you have, the better and the softer that you can land. These are things that at least I felt I should share with you, just to prepare for you before you move to Canada, to avoid any cultural shocks. There are lots of them. I couldn't stress on them, and there's enough videos about cultural shocks on YouTube that you can learn from. These are the ones that I felt I should expose to you from my perspective. If you got value out of the video, kindly hit the like button so that YouTube will share this video with other people who also get value out of it. And don't forget to hit the share button to share it with your family and friends who have plans of coming to Canada, so they can also learn from it. And if you are new to this community, my advice is to hit the subscribe button so that you can join this community, and any new video that at least I'll put out there, YouTube will alert you. And if you have any experiences about cultural shocks in Canada, like I said earlier, share it in the comment section. Let's all learn together. Till next time, I'll say cheers.